Okay, just making sure my notes are
Hello,
similar.
good morning.
You're Albert Brown.
And
You're facing an assault causing bodily injury. You're facing up to a year in jail.
I don't believe
I don't
so,
think-
Your
I
Honor.
don't
I
think
believe this
that's
is an
me.
interference with
Okay,
public
right,
service.
I'm looking.
yeah, and that's not
Yes,
me.
you're right. Interference with the duties of a public servant. 6 months in jail and a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you.
On March 11th, 2025, at approximately 1:21 p.m., the officer observed a vehicle speeding at 48 miles per hour in a 35 miles per hour zone, and a temporary tag that came back as expired as of March 3rd, 2025. A traffic stop was initiated. The defendant stopped in the middle of the road, and the officer signaled for the defendant to pull over to the nearest parking lot. The defendant opened the driver's side door and attempted to step out. She became hostile and then was yelling and cursing. The defendant was giving commands to walk in front of the officer's patrol vehicle. Since the defendant was not complying with commands to get back inside the vehicle, the defendant then walked partially to the back of their car, and the officer detained the defendant and began actively resisting. The defendant was giving multiple commands to place their hands behind their back, and the defendant continued to pull away and tense on the officer's attempt to walk them back to the car. The defendant then locked onto the door to prevent the officer from placing handcuffs. The defendant was taken to the ground where they continued to resist. The defendant was tased after giving repetitive commands and not complying. The defendant was then successfully placed into handcuffs, and it was later learned that the defendant had an unloaded firearm in their vehicle and was identified by their Texas driver's license.
Okay, I'm going to find that there's sufficient probable cause to go forward with the case. Can you run the license, please? Make sure it's eligible.
There is no driver's license on file, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I have it eligible. My driver's license is valid.
Unless you have a valid Texas driver license
I do.
and liability insurance in your name, you're not allowed to drive. That's a condition of your bond. That's the only condition I'm going to put on you. Just when you get into a pissing match with someone with power of arrest, who's going to win? Don't say anything as a rhetorical question, but really, people have been shot for far less. You got to be careful in this life. You only get one. You know what I mean? Really.
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm not, like I said, the only condition is just drive with a license and insurance. You've got lawyers, so they'll take care of you because you have a lawyer. I will waive your appearance. You don't have to waste your time coming to court, but just stay in touch with them. They'll tell you if and when you have to come back to court.
Yes,
If
sir.
they tell me if they tell me they can't get a hold of you, if you take off, you pick up a new case, I am going to revoke your bond, put you in jail. No more PR bonds. Just be nice. It's not hard. All right.
Yes, sir.
I'll have you sign a receipt, Victoria. We'll have you take a seat while I get your bond conditions. We'll have you sign it, and then you're free to go.
Morning, sir.
So you're charged with assault of a family member. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you. Okay.
Complainant and defendant are in a former dating relationship. On 6/29, officers were dispatched to a disturbance at a business in Harris County, Texas. Complainant entered the business, and when she exited and walked back to her truck, she observed the defendant there. Complainant believed defendant had followed her. Complainant said the defendant was intoxicated and started to insult her. Complainant stated defendant struck her on the left side of her face with a closed fist as she sat down inside of her truck, causing pain. Complainant stated she went after defendant as he entered his truck and grabbed his shirt. Complainant stated she was momentarily dragged as she held onto the defendant's vehicle.
So it was a hit to the face, you said?
Yes, Judge. We have not been able to arrest her yet. I will let you know that I was reading through the offense report. I don't know if this was mentioned to intake, but in the offense report, it does look like she was 4 months pregnant at the time and the defendant was aware. So this baby refiled as a felony. I'm not sure yet, but.
Mr. Tejada, I'm going to find that there's sufficient probable cause to go forward with the case. I'm now ordering you not to consume alcohol, illegal drugs, unprescribed controlled medication. If I find that you're using, I will revoke your bond, put you in jail. I'm going to do everything in my power to protect my public at all costs. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You are not to have any contact with the complaining witness in this case, not to be in possession of weapons, and I'm now entering what's called a magistrate order for emergency protection. This is a court order that identifies Ms. Lopez Leiva as a protected individual. You cannot commit family violence or an assault against this person. Commit an act in furtherance of an offense under section 42.072 of the Texas Penal Code, which is the stalking statute. You cannot threaten, harass, use another person to communicate a threat or harassing behavior. You cannot be in possession of a weapon or go within 200 feet of where she lives or where she works. Do you understand?
Sir.
If you violate this court order, the state can and will probably file a violation of protective order, and that is the capital murder of misdemeanors. It is one of the worst cases you can pick up, a violation of protective order. Do you understand? You pick up one of those, violate conditions, I can have a hearing to hold you at no bond, zero bond, and I'll do it in a heartbeat to protect my county. Any prior assaults against this person or,
No, Judge, this looks like it's the first one.
okay. Now, you have a lawyer because you have a lawyer. I will waive your appearance, but it is your responsibility to stay in touch with Mr. Parr. If he tells me he can't get a hold of you because you've gone AWOL, I will issue a warrant for your arrest. You pick up a new case, I will issue a warrant for arrest. You get no more PR bonds. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
You will be randomly called upon to go take drug and alcohol tests. If you fail to go, then likewise a warrant for your arrest will be issued. I'll have you go sign a reset with Victoria. You'll sign the order for protection here. You'll get with Alicia for your bond conditions, and after that, you're free to go.
Just,
Oh, is there no bond set?
well, no,
there
there
is.
is. Just, with regards to the bond condition, I was wondering if we could, amend those or have them reflect the no threat and harassing communication, instead of no contact. They do.
They haven't been able to reach her.
They haven't, but the DA hasn't, but she has spoken with her back. She had spoken to the back and told her that she did want to proceed with the case. She would, you know.
I don't know. I mean, if she's 4 months pregnant, you
No, she's
know,
already had the child. They already have a child now. That's the only reason why I say it now.
Yeah, this did happen back in
They,
June.
they do have
Yeah.
a.
If,
well, let's do this. I want to know, I mean, if that VAC was done, that VAC was done in 2024. I don't know anything recent. So until I know what she wants now, then, you know, and if you could, you know, facilitate, perhaps give a phone number, maybe that's something that can happen now. I don't know, but I like to follow the wishes of the complaining witness, and I don't know what her wishes are. If she doesn't want contact with you, then I'm gonna order it. If she does, then we can revisit that at that time. But understand, for this instant, no means no. It doesn't mean maybe. It doesn't mean I got to go get my kid. It doesn't mean someone has to go take the SAT. No means no. Do you understand?
Sir.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
This way.
I did that this morning.
For you, Ms. Jacobs,
yes, sir.
ma'am, you're charged with failure to comply. I guess striking an unattended vehicle. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We are going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you.
On February 27, 2025, an officer responded to an FSGI call in the HEB parking lot in Houston, Harris County, Texas. The complainant reported that while shopping, her vehicle was backed into by an unknown individual who did not stop. When she returned to her vehicle, a note was left with a license plate number, a witness's phone number, and a statement about the incident. The witness confirmed seeing a vehicle back into the complainant's vehicle and drive off. The witness gave a description of the defendant and her vehicle. On March 4th, 2025, an officer met with the loss prevention manager at HEB and was shown surveillance video from the parking lot, which showed the defendant driving over a curb and parking her vehicle. The defendant did shopping in the store and got back in her vehicle. The defendant began to reverse into the complainant's vehicle. The defendant paused briefly before driving off and exiting the parking lot. Surveillance video clearly showed the defendant as well as the defendant's vehicle's license plate. The officer confirmed the license plate was registered to the vehicle and the registered owner was the defendant. The officer compared the driver's license photo with the surveillance images and positively identified the defendant. The officer called the defendant and the defendant acknowledged he rubbed another car with her bumper. The complainant provided photographs of the damage to her car along with an estimate that the total cost of repair would be $3,009.23.
Okay. Ms. Jacobs, I'm going to find that there's sufficient probable cause to go forward with the case. Can you run her license, please? See if she has a valid license.
Yes, Judge.
I'm ordering you not to drive any vehicle unless you have a valid Texas driver license and liability insurance in your name. That's the only condition I'm putting on you at this time. Do not pick up any new cases. If you do, I will revoke your bond, put you in jail. No more PR bonds. Do you understand, man?
Driver's license is all.
Okay, so we're just going to craft bond conditions for you not to drive without insurance as well. We'll have you sign it, and after that, you'll be free to go. You have a lawyer. Because you have a lawyer, I will waive your appearance. You don't have to waste your time coming to court, but you must stay in touch with him, and he'll tell you if and when you have to come back to court. If he tells me he can't get hold of you because you've gone AWOL, I will issue a warrant for your arrest. All right? We'll have you sign a reset with Victoria. We'll have you take a seat in the jury box. We'll get your bond conditions. We'll have you sign it, and then you'll be free to go. All right? Thank you, guys.
This way.